that I think is exciting. As an entrepreneur, women are starting companies at 2.5 times the rate of male-owned businesses today. And yet, sadly, 98% of women-owned companies, 98% of women-owned companies don't get past 1 million in revenue. Heartbreaking. They last longer, but they don't take a lot of risk. They usually run their businesses out of cash flow. But guess what? You ask your average woman why she wanted to start her business, it's twofold. One is she had an idea, she had a problem she wanted to solve. I bet everybody here's got a business in them, right? Oh, we should do this, we should do that. But they wanted more flexibility in their life. It doesn't mean that they were willing to work, wanted to work less hours necessarily. They wanted to work those hours when they wanted to work them. So women are rewarding companies that offer them a level of flexibility. Well, you can't get flexibility without driving results. And so the big challenge is, how do you drive results and how do you have measurable results when you want more flexibility in your life? There's not one company in this country, and frankly, that's sophisticated in the world that's not trying to figure this out. And not just for men, women, by the way, for men too. And this is the big challenge that is facing us as when groups of people come together and they're trying to drive results. How do you have accountability and still give people individual time to do things when they want to do them? Obviously, some jobs lend themselves to that better than other jobs, but as more technology obviously comes into play, it gives us all more flexibility, which is exciting, but also, when do you turn off? When do you turn off? When do you have time for yourself? It requires even more self-discipline. It really does. So let's talk about ourselves. And this is, I just love this. How do we process information? The male brain and the female brain. Did you notice that the female brain is pink? Just to make it easy for all of us. So when you really understand how we are literally wired differently. I mean, you've heard that expression before, but we really physically are. And in fact, if you look at the way men tend to think, and I'm massively generalizing, of course, but if you look at the male brain, they have a file cabinet called Office, and that will open, and then when you want to talk about something else, that file cabinet typically will need to close, and then they can open another file cabinet. Now this can happen very quickly, and this is not a criticism, this is just a different process. Okay, so wife or partner, gym, kids, golf, etc. Then you've got the female brain. Well, what's the challenge there? To make a decision, your average female brain wants a lot of input. She needs a lot of stimuli before she'll make a decision. So you'll hear the criticism from men about women, well, God, she just wants to talk about this forever. Or you'll hear the criticism of, oh my God, I mean, she just wants consensus on everything. She just wants to be everybody's friend. Well, that's not necessarily the case. It might be the case, but it also may be that she needs more input before she's willing to make a decision. In fact, women have 4 times the neurons connecting their left and right brain. So we need more stimuli going back and forth before we're willing to make a decision. And by the way, we like that stimuli all at the same time sometimes. Boom, 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 boom. Sometimes you'll see women talking to each other, they're talking over each other. I heard that. I heard what she said. I already knew it. Because part of half of my conversation was intuitive. That's not always true, because you don't hear it all, right? You think you do, you're symphony it, because you know that person. Can you guys hear me still? Okay. So I think this is really good to remember, both as male leaders, you're thinking, oh, I got to listen to her. Yeah, you make time. It's smart, because she wants your input in order to make a decision. But on the other hand, when you want a quick decision, that's another great way and reason why men and women ought to be working together. Because sometimes you've got to make a quick decision. You don't have time for all the inputs. You don't have time for the stimuli. You've got competitive pressure. You've got to get it done. And so it's great to see both ways in one room debating whatever it is in the moment and having that dialogue, and there's value to both approaches. But it's good to know what's going on. It's not just a willy-nilly kind of thing. And one way isn't necessarily better than the other. Okay? So we're good? Okay. So here's what really, now we're going to go into the career piece. Women want more input. We really want it. We think we make wiser, more holistic decisions that way, and we emotionally are more satisfied, and we feel better. We feel better. But then who is giving you input? The biggest concern I see, and by the way, some of the top female leaders in this country will tell me all the time that they'll have, I've got this prototype story that they'll have a young woman who, let's say, she's in her, I'm going to go ahead and say it, this may not be so PC, but she's in her baby-making years. She's about to have the baby. Come on, you guys know some of this conversation takes place off-site. Not here, of course. I'm talking about other companies. She's 29 to 32. Now she's on baby watch. What is she going to do? Are we going to lose her? Or is she going to stay? What's it going to look like? So understand that there's not one way to have a family if that's what you choose to do. Understand that there are different ways to do it. I personally, when Judy and Ken and I were talking, Dana, we were talking about the importance of balance and the trick and the struggle that every woman has around trying to figure out how do you make a schedule in your life. And by the way, men are dealing with that too. But a lot of women take on more pressure. Do you know that when women decide to be the primary financial resource in I'm tracking now traditional family, that women typically triple their salary in 5 years? Now, I wouldn't necessarily run home and tell your spouse that, unless that's something you want to do. But why is that? Why is it? It's interesting to think about. Well, the women who are experiencing that tripling of their salary and increasing responsibility have made a decision that maybe I'm just going to cook on the weekends and I'm going to outsource that to a third party or my spouse. Maybe I'm going to have more flexibility in life and not worry about having to keep the house clean all the time. Now, obviously, you have to have financial resources for that. I'm not saying that that's not an inexpensive proposition. But do you want to maybe not have your nails done and hire a housekeeper? If you have the opportunity to have income that could be allocated, those are the kinds of things that are really great expenses to help you with your career. So it then becomes, how do you choose to allocate your expenses so that you have more flexibility in your life? So maybe you're having more time at home with your kids, and you're not on your hands and knees cleaning the toilet angry as hell. Right? So the other piece is, have you heard the survey that if you calculate the 7 people that you choose to spend the most time with, think about that, not your family, non-family members. Calculate this, think about for a moment the 7 people you choose to spend the most time with. Okay, got it? And then calculate what you think their estimated income is. Just rough fingering. Add it up, divide. The median number will be your income. When I did that, I had to get rid of 2 friends because they were really messing up. They were messing up the curve. I miss them, but you know, I still so you know what? It really did get me to think about what I want to do in my life. And it also got me to think about who's giving me input. Who are you asking advice from? Who are your resources? Really think hard about it. Are these people that are living lives that you admire and want to live yourself? Or are you maybe just getting input because of convenience? Something to think about. So because I always question, where do your ideas of success come from? What are you supposed to look like? How are you supposed to talk? How much education are you supposed to have? Are you supposed to have kids or not? Who are your friends supposed to be? It's good to sometimes question those things. I take, every year, my husband and I take a little trip and we reevaluate what we want in our lives. And you know what? You can always change your mind. I found that I wasn't making some commitments earlier in life, and a good friend of mine said, you know what? If it doesn't work for you, you can change your mind. but make a decision. Because not making a decision is a decision. And that hit me. I thought, wow, okay. So I can do anything. I can do anything, but I can't do everything. And so choose. And sometimes we don't want to choose because that means a commitment. And I was very commitment phobic for a long time. And so that was very difficult. But when I did choose, great things started happening. And by the way, some great things were great messes. And I had to change my mind again and say, ooh, that's not working for me. So all your decisions aren't going to be necessarily great decisions, but you'll learn from them and you learn out of contrast. At least that's the way most of us learn. So deciding, what do we really want? This is so simple, but it's amazing how many of us, if I asked most people in this room, the survey would be that only about 30% of you, in about a minute, can tell me very specifically exactly what you want. So can you articulate it for yourself? It's a great exercise.